Hello Year 2, how are you? And welcome to today's history lesson. Now in our history lesson last week, we looked at everything Florence Nightingale did when she returned from Turkey after the Crimean War and how everything that she did has impacted on modern medicine. So how it has impacted our lives today, how it has impacted hospitals, how they're set up and how they're run. So that is what we looked at last week. Now this week we're going to be carrying on with Florence Nightingale, but this time looking at why she is considered one of the greatest women in British history and how has she been recognised for all of her hard work. So by the end of the lesson, again, you'll be able to tell me even more about Florence Nightingale and what made her famous, as well as how she's been recognised for all of her work. And again, you'll be able to add even more events to the timeline that we've been creating throughout our unit of work on Florence Nightingale. So if you have still got your timeline for Florence Nightingale, please could you pause the video now and go and get it so you can add some more events. Okay, Year 2. Now, before we move on to today's learning, I want to see, I've got 4 questions to find out how much you've remembered from last lesson. So here is your retrieval quiz. Question 1, what did Florence Nightingale set up in 1860 after she returned to England? Number 2, what was her book Notes on Nursing about? Name 2 topics, so 2 things that she recommended in this book. Number 3, how did she change people's views on nursing? And number 4, name 3 features of a Nightingale ward. So what features within a Nightingale ward make it a Florence Nightingale ward, okay? Where are her ideas in a Florence Nightingale ward? Okay, so pause the video now and have a go at these 4 questions. Okay, Year 2, so let's go through the answers. Number 1, what did Florence Nightingale set up in 1860 after she returned to England? Well, she had learnt a lot, hadn't she, when she was in Scutari about cleanliness and hygiene. So therefore, she wanted to teach other nurses about all of these things that she had learnt in Scutari. So therefore, she set up the Nightingale School for Nurses at St Thomas's Hospital in London. And she trained nurses all about cleanliness and hygiene, just like she had learnt. And that training school is still open today for nurses to be trained as nurses. Okay, now, number 2, what was her book, Notes on Nursing, about? Can you remember 2 of the things that it recommended, 2 of the topics? Well, it spoke about cleanliness, so all the stuff she'd learned about hygiene from the Scutari Hospital, spoke about food, because remember, in Turkey in the hospital, they hardly had any food when she arrived, and she made sure that they then had food by the end when she changed the hospital. So she found that food was very important for someone to get better. She spoke about hospital management and beds and bedding, because remember when she arrived in Scutari, they didn't have any beds and they didn't have clean bedding. So she made sure after she changed the hospital that everything was clean, that they had clean beds and clean bedding. So therefore, there are 4 topics that she spoke about. You needed to have just mentioned 2. Then number 3, how did she change people's views on nursing? Well, can you remember before when Florence Nightingale told her family that she wanted to be a nurse? They weren't very impressed, were they? Because they thought that people from rich families had to stay at home and look after the house or the children and not go to be a nurse. So it was a very low paid job and it wasn't very respected at all. So she changed it from an unimportant job to a respected and appreciated job. Lots of people around the world, after Florence Nightingale had changed the hospital in Scutari, wanted to become a nurse, and they had lots of respect for Florence Nightingale. The number 4, name 3 features of a Nightingale ward. Now you can see the picture here. What features do you recognise? Well, you could have mentioned open windows so that there was clean air inside the room, clean bedding, that it was hygienic, it was very clean. The beds were at a distance so that the nurses could walk between the beds. Beds were alongside each other, so they went all the way up both walls. Okay, so how did you get on in this quiz? Did you remember all of this from last lesson? Fantastic, well done. I knew that you would. Now let's move on to today's learning. So, Florence Nightingale had done all of this work in Scutari and she'd set up a training school, she'd written a book. How was she recognised for this? Well, she improved the standard of nursing. So she really, really improved nursing. She spoke about cleanliness, which was a big, big thing in nursing to allow people to get better. So she was awarded 2 different awards, one in 1883 and one in 1907. So can you see the first one? It says Faith, Hope and Charity on it. And this is the Royal Red Cross. And the Royal Red Cross is awarded by Queen Victoria. Well, it was awarded by Queen Victoria at the time. So the Queen nowadays, Queen Elizabeth, would give this to someone, would award this to someone. But at the time of Florence Nightingale, because it was the Victorian times, Queen Victoria awarded it to her. And it is awarded to nurses who have been working for the military, so have been working for the army, which is what Florence Nightingale was doing when she was in Scutari, because she was looking after all of the wounded soldiers from the Crimean War. So therefore, she was a military nurse. She was a nurse for the army. And that's why she got the Royal Red Cross of Queen Victoria in 1883. Now, on the other side, in 1907, she was awarded the Order of Merit. Now, the Order of Merit is a special award given by a king or a queen. So again, she was given it by Queen Victoria to people who have made a big contribution to society. Ooh, what does contribution mean? Well, let's have a look together. So contribution is a noun and it has 4 syllables. It's a very long word. So let's clap the syllables together. Are you ready? Contribution. There we go. And it means the giving of something. So someone gives something that plays a significant part in making something happen. So Florence Nightingale's contribution to nursing was the introduction of hygiene and cleanliness, and that made something happen. So that improved the hospitals in Scutari, but it also improved modern medicine. So it improved the training of nurses and it improved the hygiene of the hospitals in Britain, and she made a big impact on nursing. So she also changed how people viewed nursing. So again, it was a respected job now, wasn't it? So she made a great contribution to medicine in England. More people were training as nurses and the hospitals were cleaner. So some synonyms for this word are offering and donation. Now, what Florence Nightingale contributed, her contribution wasn't anything to do with money, but you can make a contribution of money. So if you are buying a present for someone, for example, you can contribute some money to the present. So you can put a small amount of money towards the present. I gave a small contribution towards the present, but as we know, Florence Nightingale wasn't a money contribution, it was a contribution to nursing. She had made nursing better. Okay, and that is why she won the Order of Merit in 1907. And she was the first ever woman to win this award. So that was amazing, don't you think? Now, let's have a look how else she was recognised. So in 1908, she was also awarded the Honorary Freedom of the City of London. Now, what does that mean? Well, this honour, it meant that she had a special ceremony. Okay, so lots of people gathered for her ceremony to reward her for her services to nursing. So again, she got the Honorary Freedom of the City of London for everything that she had done for nursing. And there was a special ceremony. So for example, another type of ceremony would be when someone gets married, for example. They would have a ceremony where everyone celebrates the marriage. And in this case, everyone was celebrating everything that Florence Nightingale had done for nursing. But poor old Florence Nightingale at this time was 88 years old and she was very unwell and she could not leave her bed. Okay, so that's a big shame, isn't it? Let's have a look what happens next. Oh dear. On the 13th of August, 1910, at the age of 90, Florence Nightingale sadly passes away at her home. and she is one of the most famous women in Britain, and she continues to be remembered today for her contribution to nursing, as we know.